Hey, it's Mike Hansen from Junior Golf Fit, and I have 5 of my top tips for fitness when it comes to junior golf. This is a great video for parents, and it's also good for junior golfers. But if you're a parent of a junior golfer, you're going to want to watch this. So, number one, and I think it's most important, if you have a junior that's under the age of 10, the main thing that you can have them do is play as many sports as possible. So when it comes to athletic development, soccer, basketball, flag football, lacrosse, anything that's going to help them to create some type of athletic development, which is going to always transfer back into their golf game. A lot of times I'll get parents that say, hey, I have this 8-year-old and I want them to be an incredible golfer. My answer is always play as many sports as possible. Here at our facility, we have junior golf classes, and the main thing we work on is that athletic development by kicking soccer balls, getting the lower body moving. We have hand-eye coordination drills and different things like that, and that is the most important. So if you have a junior golfer that's under the age of 10, the main thing you can do is just have them play as many sports as possible, and if they really fall in love with the game of golf, or if they continue to play golf, then they can start to specify, and all that work they did when they were in those other sports is always going to come back and help them as they pursue that junior golf career. All right, now while they're playing those other sports and you want to focus on some type of fitness exercises, and it's important to do so, even 10 and under, I would even say 12 and under, this is really important, is to set a foundation. And what I mean by a foundation is the 2 biggest stabilizers in your body are your glutes for your lower body and the core for your upper body. And a lot of times it's hard to develop that mind-muscle connection, especially for the youngsters. You want them to use those muscles automatically, but sometimes if they are just swinging a golf club over and over again, there's going to be some type of imbalances that start to occur, and that's why playing multiple sports is really important, because you don't want those imbalances of a sport where you're only making the same move over and over. So set a foundation. So if we look at number 1, we look at the glutes. You know, and in our app, we do offer a lot of different exercises to address these things, but set a foundation for the glutes. And what I mean is getting control over those. Doing things like a glute bridge, where you just lay on your back and you lift your hips up and you try and squeeze the butt cheeks as much as possible. I like to have fun with the kids when I do it and tell them they have bad gas and they have to hold it in. Some things like that they can relate to a little bit more than just giving them an exercise. And then standing on one leg is another great one. It's going to work on the balance, and just have a contest with them on one leg. Just have a contest with them. Who can stand on one leg? And then if you want to make it even harder, have them close their eyes and try that. The kids will enjoy the competitiveness of it. And it gives them something and you something that you can relate to with them. And then core. So when it comes to core, we want to make sure that they're using those muscles that are inside the core, and it's not just doing crunches. Crunches aren't going to help them when it comes to setting that foundation. It's the muscles inside there, doing things like a body weight plank. So we can do planks, we can do side planks, and the nice thing about these is basically if you just tell them to keep their stomach tight or pull their belly button in, their body is forced to use those. So we can do side planks for these as well. Any type of rotary exercise, or that you're looking at some type of being on one knee or both knees and rotating side to side with maybe a light ball, or even doing throws, doing baseball throws are really good for that midsection, that core. Make sure you throw it with both hands though, because it's fun, number 1, and you don't want those imbalances. So always work on both sides. But setting that foundation of the glutes and the core at a young age, I think any time of age is okay to start doing these things, as long as you're not using any resistance training for that. But setting that foundation for glutes and core. And if you're saying, hey, I have a 14-year-old that's never worked out, never done anything, again, you want to set the foundation first. I don't care if they're 18 or they're 6 or 5. You want to make sure they have a good understanding of how to use the glutes and how to use the core. Okay, moving along now, and if you've ever heard me talk about the way that we train juniors here, you've heard about the windows of opportunity, and depending on their age, when their body will accept the training the best. And as we start to get older and our body starts to grow, we want to make sure that we really focus on mobility. And that's just the ability to have longer muscles, to move more freely. Usually with girls, we see that mobility isn't an issue until they get much in past puberty. With boys, we find that it's a bigger issue during puberty and those few years before puberty. So another thing that I didn't mention is one thing that's really good to do, and we'll put a side note over here, is to measure your junior. So if you have a junior that's a boy that's 13 or 14, you want to start measuring them every month. And when you see that spike in growth, you know that puberty, those hormones are starting to kick in, and then we really need to focus on this flexibility. Measure, so we got boys, 13 and 14 is when you want to start, and then girls are always a little bit quicker than the boys. So, and they're maturing a little bit faster. So the girls anywhere between 12 and 13, and that's when we want to make sure that we focus on this mobility, because that's when the muscles and the bones and everything's going to start to grow and get tighter. So the main thing with flexibility is the hamstring. So we have the hamstring, and again, if you're on our website and you look at the app, we have a ton of different hamstring mobility exercises. And the nice thing with this age of juniors is they can start to work their training and start to do different exercises that are mobility focused, where they're going through a full range of motion. So we always want the hamstring, that's the back of the leg, the upper part of the back of the leg, and then we want to make sure that we always keep the thoracic spine in extension. And what I mean by in extension is that, especially now with phones and computers and sitting at school, we're starting to see more and more younger kids being rounded over this way. And what that does to them is it affects their lower back. It puts some more stress on their lower back muscles, and it makes it hard for them to rotate. So we want to make sure that the flexion of the upper back is this way, of the thoracic spine, and then extension is this way. So anything that's going to get them to open up their chest, feel like they're up taller, is going to be a huge component when it comes to them getting older, going to college, playing golf. Even in those years and beyond, we want to make sure that they have good thoracic extension. And so there's different exercises and stretches by stretching the chest, pulling the shoulders back. But that mobility is really important, especially in those ages of 12 to 13 for girls and 13 to 14 for boys. And then as we move into that puberty, where all those hormones are going to go, that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about number 4 being strength. Okay, I was just kidding. I said strength, but I meant speed. I got a little bit ahead of myself. This is probably one of the most important windows of opportunity when we look at that age of right before puberty, is the best time to really work on speed. And when I mean speed, I mean any type of speed, just moving these kids as fast as you possibly can. So number 1, you can have them swing lighter. So I know there's a ton of apparatuses and tools out there that are speed training now, but all you got to do is flip their driver over, have them hold on to towards the end of the head end of the shaft, and just swing it as fast as they possibly can, both directions. That's a huge way to do it. The other thing is just by running. I'm talking sprinting as fast as you can. You can go forwards, backwards, sideways, just any type of running, and it doesn't have to be far. At 20, we want that fast burst. Jumping, trying to pretend like during the Olympics doing a triple jump, jumping as much as they can. if we can get those legs more explosive and faster, it's going to all transfer over into their golf swing. And give them time. I get so frustrated when I see somebody on social media post a picture or a swing of their kid and like, oh, check out my kid, see if there's any swing faults or anything you see. The best thing you can do for a junior golfer is let them figure out how to hit the ball, give them few tips as possible, but they're going to develop their own swing. There is not one way to swing a golf club. There's efficient ways, but there is not one way. You see it on tour all the time. There's so many different swings that are making a ton of money on the tour. So when it comes to building speed, just doing anything as fast as you can. Have races. If you have multiple kids, have them race, have them compete. Try to swing, get a radar monitor, see how fast they can swing and not care about where the ball goes. So just developing that speed right before they hit that window of puberty window, those same ages that I had up before, girls 12, 13, boys 13, 14, you're going to set them up for some huge success when it comes to building speed. And these days, you've got to have speed in your golf swing. All right, now we get to stronger. Get stronger. So if you've done everything correctly, played multiple sports, set the foundation, made sure you stayed mobile, and really worked on your speed, the strength is going to be huge because there's really nothing you can't do when it comes to getting stronger. The number one thing we want to make stronger, though, is the legs. If your legs are strong, number one, they have to carry you through 18 holes. Most of the time in junior golf, you're either pushing a cart or you're carrying your bag. And then, other than that, you need it to swing the golf club faster. So you have got to get the legs stronger. And when we say legs stronger, there are a million different exercises, and I think there are a million. But if we look at squats, lunges, lateral lunges, and I really recommend starting all these things out with just body weight and then add resistance as you go, and continuing to add resistance and make them as strong as you possibly can. You don't want to, and if I throw out the words or the letters RDL, that's called Romanian deadlift. It's a really good one to keep the glutes and the hamstrings strong. So we're going to say RDL, and then we're going to also say keep firing and working those glutes. And now that they're in that age where they can really lift weights and really work on their strength, they can start to add resistance to these glute bridges and these glute exercises. The next thing we want to make sure that we keep strong is the core. And then what I mean by core is now we're doing rotary exercises. Rotary. Sorry, my spelling isn't the best. So we're doing rotary exercises now with those planks that we've been doing to set that foundation. So now we got rotary exercises for the core. We have explosive exercises, which a medicine ball. Med balls are really, really good to use for those explosive exercises. The legs, the core, and then we can just say the upper body. And I'm talking, when I say upper body, I'm meaning mostly we got to keep the back, the upper back stronger. Again, like I talked about earlier, we don't want this roundness over here. We want them to be able to stand up tall, have good posture, and be able to handle carrying your bag if you have to, being able to rotate, stay and maintaining in posture. So we want to make sure that that upper back is strong. I always say do 3 pulling exercises for every 1 pushing exercise, because we're always doing things in front of us. We don't need a ton of chest exercise. We need to keep the back stronger, and that could be doing rows. Rows are things where you just pull and squeeze your shoulder blades, working that upper back. We can do things like shrugs, where you're really working what's called the trapezius muscle on the top of the shoulders, where you're pulling up and shrugging. And once they've gotten into that 15, 16, 17-year-old, we can try and load them as much as we can without getting dangerous and hurting them. We want to make sure that we build up from no weight to as much as they can handle in a good form. So making sure they stay strong is the final and last one, and that's going to set them with that tone throughout their career. So just to review, we have number one, playing as many sports as possible. If you have a 10 and under, you've got to play those sports. It's really important. And then number two, you got to set that foundation. So you got to really make sure that the core and the glutes are working and really staying that center foundation that's going to help them throughout their careers. And then we want to work on mobility. We want to make sure they stay mobile. That's the thoracic spine, the hamstrings. Really want to make sure, and that extension in the back. And then we worked on speed, getting them stronger right before that puberty window is the best time. Continue to work on that as well. And then the last thing is getting stronger. If you follow this, if you have a young junior that's under 10 right now and follow this, I guarantee you're going to set them up for success. Don't put so much stress on how straight their ball goes or how good they score in a tournament. That's not really important right now as far as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old even. Once they get into high school and they start to say, okay, I want to focus just on golf, then we want to start making sure that they're seeing their golf instructor and they're making sure that they're learning different things. But right now, if you could set them up for success, it's going to be these 5 fitness tips that I just gave you. So again, check out our website at juniorgolffit.com and click on the app section and see how much we have to offer as far as the specific exercises and programs go. We'll see you in the next video.